the NIL stuff is a bunch of BS. Okay, because when people are basically laundering money so it can be given to kids,
yes,
that's where we get in trouble.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, let's look at the NFL model and say that's where we need to be. When a Nike or a USAA or somebody call you up and say, "Hey, we want you to do a commercial," now we're talking real. Because this is for us. Same thing for us. You had a contract. You had a contract. I had a contract. Mm-hmm. Somebody from McDonald's calls you and asks for something. Somebody from Little Caesars calls you to do something. That's great because that's beyond your contract.
Yes.
Right.
And that's what it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be somebody paying you to play. That's the truth. And that's what really bothers me because I hate to see it ruin the sport. And we're kind of headed in that direction right now.
What's up, everybody? I'm Peanut Tillman, and this is the NFL Players Second Acts podcast. And with me, as always, as my trusty co-host, Roman Harper.
Everybody's in our nice blues today. I'm really excited about our next guest. He's one of my favorites. He's definitely my top 2 coach in the NFL.
Absolutely.
Because I only had 2, but he's in there and he's great and he deserves all the accolades. So Peanut, let's jump into it. I can't wait to talk.
Yeah. He's a Super Bowl champion, played on the great 85 Bears defense. He took us to Super Bowl 50.
Yeah.
And we'll just leave it at that.
We probably took him too.
No, you did. I promise you guys did.
We probably took him too.
Now he's the general manager of Cal's football team. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the pod, Ron Rivera.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How's that been?
It's been interesting. It's probably the best word I could think because it really is. My biggest disappointment though is there really is there are no parameters. There's no rules, and it's utter chaos. And I think it culminated this past portal, and it actually culminated right after the portal. I think what Dabo Swinney did, calling Ole Miss out. I believe it was Ole Miss, right?
It was Ole Miss.
Yes. Calling them out for what they did. I think that's big, and I think that's important because we've got to get control of this because if not, we're going to ruin a very good sport.
Yeah.
College football right now is the second most popular television sport. So let's make sure we're at least following the rules so we can produce quality football.
Like coaches have told on coaches in the past or programs, but nobody actually brought and presented receipts to the public.
Yes.
Like Dabo did.
Yes.
That was the first of its kind.
Yes, it was.
He had text messages. He had it all. He had a player from Cal.
I know. That's you know what? I will say this. He's a heck of a young man. He's a good football player. But I did tell people that, I wouldn't be surprised if he did leave.
Yes. But you understand where the game is right now.
Correct. And because they throw it out there in front of the young man. They bait the hook. Mm-hmm. They throw it out there. They know how to get to these young people and they exploit it. And it's unfortunate because a lot of these young people are getting trapped and caught up in terrible situations. I mean, you look at what happened with Duke with the quarterback.
Yep.
That's another issue right there. And again, it's one of those things that once we have parameters and once those things are set, now let's follow the rules. And if you break the rules, take a percentage of people's people's revenue share money. And I promise you, people will now fall in line and stay where they need to be. At least I believe so.
Same thing happened with Washington's quarterback as well. So, like you said, Coach, I have no idea what a contract is, what a contract isn't. The fact that they say, well, it's not through the team, so it's through the NIL. So it's like you hear all these things and they're trying to, I don't understand it all. So I'm saying this with a sense of ignorance as well, because I just know what I hear and what is actually true fact.
Well, the true fact is there's basically 2 portions of the money. There's the revenue share, which is what the judge ruled on and said that there is money that should be shared between the universities and the student athletes.
That's the $20 million minimum.
Right, 20.5 minimum per team, which I think we all could agree is something that was well overdue.
Yes. Yeah.
So why don't we make that the salary cap and just say, look, the NIL stuff is a bunch of BS. Okay, because when people are basically laundering money so it can be given to kids, that's where we get in trouble.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, let's look at the NFL model and say that's where we need to be. When a Nike or a USAA or somebody call you up and say, "Hey, we want you to do a commercial," now we're talking real. Because this is for us. Same thing for us. You had a contract. I had a contract. Mm-hmm. Somebody from McDonald's calls you and asks for something. Somebody from Little Caesars calls you to do something. That's great because that's beyond your contract.
Yes.
Right.
And that's what it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be somebody paying you to play. That's the truth. And that's what really bothers me, because I hate to see it ruin the sport. And we're kind of heading that direction right now.
Since being the general manager, how have you run your organization or Cal as a GM with how the rules are in place, knowing that it's such chaos?
It's hard. It really is, because if you don't do something, you're going to get left behind very quickly. And we've seen that. I mean, and it just shows you what you can do if you do it. Look at what Indiana built. They built it, they got good financial support. That's probably one of the biggest things that you need right now to be able to build is you need the financial support. You get to the revenue share, that makes everything equal. Now where everything gets distorted is when you go now to NIL. That's the money that comes in from other donors. And really, we really wonder where that money's, coming from, but what's that money really being used for?
Yes.
Are you really truly getting commercials? You really truly being paid to do something where the other party is getting value?
Yep.
Or are we making up value? That's what I worry about.
I mean, it's a great point. I don't have the answers for it. It's been, look, I work in the SEC, and so I see it at
by the way, you do a great job. I really do. I enjoy watching.
I appreciate that, Coach. Working there, you see it at such a large scale.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also see where, like, everybody, the people with the most money in the world, their teams aren't even that good.
Yeah.
And so, like, how you spend that dollar is just as important as having the dollar. And so what are you doing with it? How fruitful are you being? Texas Tech, to me, in my opinion, has been one of the best teams in university at spreading the dollar and using it to be very impactful in which they use their money. And, they are, of course, they got oil money and they got Lubbock, but they've been really good. I mean, you look at what they did with the women's softball player.
Outstanding.
To me, I think that's one of the best. They spent $1 million and everybody said they were crazy. Then all of a sudden they went through championships. Like, it paid off.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so how you spend that dollar is just as important on who how you're spending it and who you're spending it on.
Right. And the big thing that we're seeing is it is really truly leveling the playing field to a degree, but you've got to be able to be really good in scouting too. Are you spending it properly on the right type of people? But it's not just about having recruiters on your coaching staff. They better be darn good coaches.
Yes.
Because talent will only take you so far, which will get you to a really good level.
Right.
Now, are you as a coach going to screw it up? Or are you going to be able to coach them through? You're going to be able to make the right decision to give yourselves a chance to get to the Final Four.
The term GM is we understand what it is in the NFL, right? But in college, it is a loose term. I don't even know, because each GM is different.
Yes, it's very broad.
Yes, okay. Go into that and kind of explain that to our viewers.
Well, I've heard everything from a general manager being the guy that does the contracts only. They do the scouting aspect of it, where they're trying to find the talent. They're GMs that work with the coaching staffs, work with actually practicing, on the field with the practices, helping to grow and develop their talent. But one of the biggest things that I did, and probably last year, probably more than 50% of my time, was around alumni and donor engagement, trying to find the funds for the revenue share and the funds for NIL. See, everybody thinks that when the judge said, okay, it's $20.5 million is the salary cap, that money has to be raised, whether it comes from your multimedia rights or it comes from donor engagements, it comes from other resources like ticket sales, stuff like that. You've got to have all that type of revenue sources lined up so that you can fill that pot. And 20.5 can all go to football, or it could be divided up amongst your other sports. What the suggestion was, 75% of that $20 million would go to football minimum, is what they say, give yourselves a chance. And then I think it was like 5% would go to men's basketball. Another percentage would go to women's basketball, because those are your three primary money-generating sports. And then you spread the rest of it amongst your other Olympic sports. And that's kind of how it was modeled. And some teams are taking the whole 20.5 and going right to football. And some have done like we have, and we've taken that 75% model and we've worked off of that. And that's how you try to distribute your money.
It's got to be interesting with a university like Cal, where in Stanford, you guys have so many Olympic sports.
We have 30. Stanford has 36. If we were our own countries in the last Olympics and we were combined, we'd been like top 5 medal winners. I mean, that because we produce so many Olympic sports,
yes,
Olympic athletes, and not just for the United States, but internationally. I mean, we have one of the best rowers. We have one of the best women's field hockey players. I mean, all these people play in the Olympics, and yet they're representing your university. That's why the Olympic sports are important to Cal, Stanford, Texas, UCLA, schools that have these programs, because what happens is it gets people's attention worldwide. These folks are ambassadors to us. What we've learned is that athletics is the doorstep to every university. You know, there was a time when everybody wanted to go to Cal because it's the number one public institution, or Stanford, something like that. But then when Alabama starts having a championship program, Ohio State has a championship program, Michigan has this program, Georgia, now people want to go to these schools. Now what's happening is not only the great students, they also want, because they want the total experience. Heck, my daughter, God bless her, she took UCLA over Cal because she thought I said, you gotta be kidding me. But the point being is that it is the doorstep. That's what athletics, that's what football has done. Basketball has done the same thing. So that's why it's important in terms of being relevant as far as a football program is concerned. That's why everybody's really concerned about what's going to go on next. Is there going to be a realignment? I mean, that's the next big question is are you going to see perhaps of the Power Four, that two of them come together, the other two come together, and you form these super conferences just like in the NFL. The NFL is probably the best structure to look at. You've got AFC, NFC, and within inside you got 4 divisions. Well, you could do the same thing in college athletics if you took everybody and you combined them. Now you cut them in half.
Yep. And
you have an AFC, NFC, just like in college. You have all these divisions, and these divisions play for championships.
Yeah.
And then from there you play against each other to determine who goes to play in the championship game.
I just think this thing could go a bazillion different ways. That's why I've been telling people, I'm like, man, you got to look at Texas Tech, because they're preparing for a big shift because they want to be relevant. That's why they're spending the money that they're spending right now, because if it is a shift, they don't want to get left behind.
See, and that's our model as far as we're looking at Texas Tech. We're looking at Indiana, and we say, okay, what do they do? Well, they bring in a new head coach. They get the donors involved, get them excited. We get an influx of money. Well, we had that happen for us, so much so that I believe we're ranked 14th in the portal activity this year. And a big part of it was we brought in Tosh Lupoy, very well-known recruiter. Were you there? Was he there when you were there?
No, but he's shout out Alabama, though. He's an Alabama guy. He's a Cal guy.
Yeah, he's a Cal guy, but he did.
Great friends with Scott Fujita.
Yes.
Who Scott Fujita, we talked to, he's told me a lot about Cal's situation. And because I'm very affluent with the college football space right now, he's like, dude, like Cal right now, we have to see, the alumni has to see the value in growing the football program. It's what Miami had to do a really big resurgence in. It's like, you guys have to see the value in this, put the money into that, then everything else will flow down. It's kind of weird because we always say top-down economics. It doesn't really work in America. But in college sports, it works if you do it the right way.
If you do it the right way. The big key more so than anything else is being able to be relevant. Yes. And that's what we've always struggled with the last few years. It was very difficult because, we were trying to fund everybody else. And I think the realization of that model didn't work. You can't share it that way. And that's why, truthfully, Title IX is based off of percentages. Mm-hmm. Well, the revenue share is based off of percentages. The percentage goes to your sport that generates the most money. Mm. Why? Because they help fund it. Football runs in the black at Cal, okay? The athletic department runs in the red. Why? Because the big thing is we are trying to fund everybody. We're trying to help everybody. That's why right now the donor engagement is so important. Now, if we get beyond relevant, we get ourselves into a big situation with the revenue coming, the ticket sales, the MMR rights.
Get to a playoff.
The merchandise. Exactly. That's the key.
Yes.
Ask Indiana. They will tell you the impact it makes. That's what we've seen.
Yes.
Our chancellor understands, Rich Lyons understands the importance and significance of it. And that's why he's going in on this situation. That's why bringing Tosh in, bringing myself in. And now with this chancellor, we're all aligned. All 3 of us undergraduates, pretty much at the same time. Chancellor Lyons was there. I came in when he was there. Tosh came at the end of mine, a little past the end of mine. But the 3 of us have all pretty much been aligned on trying to create a winning situation at Cal to make ourselves relevant.
So having done this, you got your rookie year out of the way. How would you assess your rookie year as a GM?
I think it was pretty good. I really do, because our donor engagement was outstanding. A lot of these folks really got behind us. There's some really terrific people that really see the vision, but the nice thing is they also see what the potential is, the growth. And to your point, when you can sit there and impact your women's sports, Okay, your Olympic sports, you're doing something right.
Mhm.
Texas Tech has a model. We've got to copy these people. We got to understand what it means to do these things. Because if we want to have sports other than football, basketball, okay, men's and women, you've got to be relevant. You've got to be able to self-sustain.
Yeah. You brought about Tosh Lupoy,
Yes.
right? Who you just brought in. You guys fired the last coach. What was it like being on the other side of the firing of coaches? We're like,
It was,
because if you coach, that's part of it.
Been on the other side of it already, though, right?
I've been on both sides of it.
Yeah. I was like,
no. I'm saying when you're the head coach in the league, though, like you fired.
I've had to let coaches go.
I hate to use the word fire, but
I hate using that word too.
You've had to let people go.
Yeah, which is very
right?
difficult because you develop relationships, and it is about relationships.
Yep.
But there's also a certain part of it you have to be honest about it. And the biggest thing is you got to understand you have a fiduciary responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
I've always looked at it. Football, NFL, that's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yes.
It really, truly is. And I understood that. I had my nephew work for me. And I told my mom, I said, Mom, now, if he messes up in a bad way, I'm going to have to fire him. And my mom was, what? He said, he's your nephew. I said, I know, Mother, but I have a responsibility. I had to tell my youngest brother the same thing, that if your son steps out of line, I'll have to fire him because of my responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tremendous responsibility. And I see that, and I take it very seriously. And there was a time when I did let a coach go. I let him go because he's a great guy, good person, good human being, but I wasn't sure if he could take players to the next level. And that's what I had to be honest about. So that's always difficult. Going into this year, being the first, being my rookie year as a general manager, we had a coaching situation where we've been above average. We've been right in the year, but we needed to take a great big step. And we were in a good situation. We had a decent portal last year. We were very comfortable, very confident, and we thought we could take it to a bigger step, and we didn't get to where we needed to go. And that's what drove it. And it was a tough conversation. Justin Wilcox is one of the smartest football coaches I've ever worked with. But it was a very short period of time we had to do this because of where we are. And that's what I did.
Well,
but
Tosh
again,
is awesome and very successful. Everybody raved about him at Alabama, his recruiting prowess and then also just, young energy as well is a big thing. Having a part and being out from Cal, playing there, I think that's what you kind of have to build upon. People that have a little bit more emotional attachment to it means a little bit more to them when it
they got a little more
matters.
stake in it.
Yeah, they do. And naturally, you ran up on the diamond in the rough in that quarterback as well.
Yes, we did. We really did. I'm going to tell you
nobody
right now.
even heard of him. You had to stay up late to watch him if you're on the East Coast.
You really did. That was the hard part but I will say this, though, we saw the influx from the NFL scouts.
Oh, really?
That was something that was real interesting. We're getting, the average few here, few there, like everybody else. Then all of a sudden, it's double that. It's 8, 10, 12, 14 guys. We had 15 guys one time the same day. And the first question out of their mouths, because I try to entertain conversations all the time. The first question is, hey, tell me about the quarterback. What do you think? And then it's funny because everybody's trying to pull me aside, say, what do you think? And I'm sitting there, I'm telling them all the same thing. I said, guys, this may be an NFL worthy talent, arm talent, unbelievable. He can throw, he can throw it from think about this. He throws it the college hashes, which are wider than NFL hashes, numbers, which are wider than NFL numbers. He can throw it from the far hash to outside the numbers on the opposite side easily. I mean, and with the same velocity and the same type of arc, and get it there in plenty of time. And I'm just trying. I mean, it's crazy. Then you watch him throw off platform. He can change his arm angles, and he can drop the platform. He throws on the right. He's got the whole thing. He's just young. He's raw. He's developing.
It's fun to watch them when they're raw like that sometimes, though, because they do things that you're probably not supposed to, but sometimes we like that.
Oh, we do. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
But what's also crazy, though, is, his toughness. I mean, he gets hurt, he gets up. He tries not to show tough injury. He wants to show that he's a tough guy and get out there and do those things. But he also understands how important it is to treat your offensive lineman well.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah. He takes those guys to dinner now. He's smart about that. He's gotten it. He has.
Vision. What do you see the vision of Cal football in the next 5 years?
Oh, I like to believe that we're going to be in position for whatever changes there come. Where we are in the ACC, we're in a great situation. I think Miami really did well for us, showed everybody that, hey, the ACC is very, very competitive. which is a big step. And I think now we're getting the respect. But whatever comes in the next 3 to 5 years as far as realignment, that we're there, that we will be worthy.
Coach, how do you guys kind of monitor, and maybe you can be in lockstep with Tosh, your head coach, about this, as far as like Miami and Indiana were the teams in the finals. They're probably two of the older teams in college football this past year. So finding the balance between high school recruiting, which is what we're traditionally so used to. But man, these are the guys that are ahead of us, and they're like kind of cutting the corner because they're getting the older guys. I don't know what to use to describe it, but you understand what I'm asking.
I know exactly where you're going. That's a great question because, well, I'll tell you this much. Two things. First of all, if I loved to have had you guys younger and then had you to where we got you.
Yeah.
Because why? For two reasons. One is you guys are younger, you guys are tremendous players, dynamic. But as you get older and wiser, you can help the younger guys develop and grow. So what we've looked at, and then I think it's one of the models you got to think about is how do you build your team? Well, what's happening now is everybody, they're not recruiting as many high school kids as they used to.
Right.
So because that number has dropped, what's happening now is you're going to the portal. Well, what's happening in the portal now is guys are grabbing guys that have played 1 year and not even really played. They're disgruntled. They're not happy. They were high recruits. Okay. They were 4-star or 5-star, whatever they were. But the thing you got to remember is just because you're recruiting them after their first year, you go, oh, well, we got them for 3 more years. But understand this, they didn't play a lot. That's why they're leaving.
Yeah.
So you grab those guys and go, well, shoot, he's not ready. I mean, I saw that from last year. We grabbed a couple of guys that were really good recruits, but they didn't play a lot. We brought him in, and it's like, well, didn't he work on it? Did he, you know? And for me, my perspective is, well, who taught these guys? And then the realization that doing that, you're not getting a refined player. But you take a guy that's been someplace 2 years, 3 years, and all of a sudden you get this player and he's played. Mm-hmm. Now, to your point, now you've got a mature guy, but you've also got a guy that's got more playing experience. I used to tell people, you know, when we were first developing and growing, when we went to Chicago with you guys, everybody talked about, why do you like this team so much? Because these young guys played. When young guys play and they get a lot of playing time, and all of a sudden you go, well, you got the crap kicked out of you. Yeah, we did. But guess what happened? They got experience. Now someone's like, oh, wow, how'd this team become so good so fast? No, it wasn't fast. Yeah. It took a period of time. Getting your butt kicked for 2 years is not fast. It feels like an eternity. That's what we went through in Carolina. And then we finally got to a certain point. And then once you get to that point, then you find the veteran guys that come in, and now they solidify who you are. So to me, it's finding your own. Just like in the NFL, you want to draft guys and you want to develop them and grow them. Same thing with high school recruiting. Get those guys in there. Get your core. Why? Because they understand your culture. Mm-hmm. If they're not going to play a lot their freshman year, you got to love them up and get them to understand this is about growth and development. Get your academics square so you don't have to worry about that part of it. Now let's figure your growth and development plan. How are we going to develop you as a football player? And once we get you to that point, your second year, maybe your third year, guess who you are for the next 2 seasons?
Yeah.
Okay. You're everybody's watching. And I'm finished. Young people don't understand. When you go from one school to the other, it's a new process every time. And if you're never learning something and you're not refining your skill sets change, you're not going to be as desirable until you get to the very end. Don't waste your first year is growing, learning, developing. I don't know why everybody thinks they have to play now.
That's the model, though.
Yeah, but see, the problem with the model is it's not right. In the NFL,
but you can't tell them that though.
But how many times have we seen sacrificial quarterbacks?
Yeah, all the time.
And they don't ask like, well, did you play as a freshman? Like they never ask that.
No.
And like NFL doesn't care about that.
No.
And the other thing that coach is so correct is like when you get there in college, I would be telling guys, dude, first year, like if you play, that's great.
Yep.
But your main goal should be get them grades and get up out of study hall.
Yep.
Where you ain't got to be here for 2 hours or an hour and a half get them hours in the study hall because that's what you got as a freshman.
Yep.
Your goal should be get out of study hall.
Yep. But for whatever reason, everybody thinks you have to play. You draft a guy, he has to play. Well, he hasn't been seasoned. He hasn't learned. Well, he's got great, tremendous talent. Well, yeah, he does. But at what point is that going to be detrimental because he hasn't learned? I've seen good young players get on the football field and get whooped and they lose that confidence. Now, all of a sudden, they're filled with anxiety. Anxiety is a matter of not knowing what the outcome is going to be or anticipating an outcome and then not being prepared for it. And if those three things are aligned, guess what? You're in trouble. So we want to develop these young people. Well, let's give them a reason to be confident. Why? Because they've had an opportunity to be brought along slowly. They've learned gradually. They've had veteran guys around that could tell them about how and what to look for in terms of pitfalls. Now, all of a sudden, after a good year of development and growth, guess where they are? They're ready to play. Mm-hmm. Let's give them that opportunity. But for whatever reason, hey, he was a top 5 pick. Well, he's got to have to play now.
But is it harder to develop kids? Even though, isn't it harder to develop kids?
Mm-hmm. I believe it is.
With the portal right there.
Yes.
Because it turns into, okay, I'm a high school kid. You bring me in from whatever school. I'm a freshman. I don't play. I go in a portal.
Yep.
Like, to me, that seems to be the process of what college football is.
Yeah.
Like, I have to play right now or I'm not making the 40, 50, 100K, whatever that number is.
But what they have to understand, too, is you have an opportunity to develop that, okay? The more prepared you are to play, right, the better you're going to show.
Yeah.
Accept what you're going to be as a freshman. Unless you're special, unless you're dominant, that's what your attitude should be is, hey, I'm ready to play, and you'll play. We're not stupid. Mm-hmm. I mean, we can see that a freshman's better than a senior. Guess who's playing?
Freshman.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen because we have to put the best player on the field today, especially in today's game, because you have to be able to compete. And this stuff about, well, he's a he's a senior, you have to play it in today's game. You play the player. If they're ready, if they're not ready, be honest. Hey, we'll work you in. We'll give you an opportunity, and then do that gradually. And who knows? Maybe within 2-3 games, he is the guy. I mean, and then sometimes some guys just. I mean, I love the quarterback we have. Jaron was ready. He was prepared, and we saw it in the Oregon State opener. His first 10 passes were completions. 2 of them were touchdowns. Mm-hmm. I mean, and I'll tell you a quick story. I'm in the press box watching, and because they don't have an extra box for the GMs, so I've got to sit with the alums. So I'm off in the corner. I'm taking my notes. I'm watching the game. He throws his second touchdown, and the alums are high-fiving each other. And I kind of turn around and the guy goes, "Oh boy, you got a tough job." I said, "No, I'm going to be calling each and every one of you tomorrow when we get back."
Remember this feeling.
That's right.
Remember this feeling, right? Yeah. Right. Don't catch the Holy Ghost in church, and then don't go into your pocket. You know what I mean? Let me get a little something about you before you get out of here. Sorry, go ahead, Peanut.
No, Marshawn Lynch, Jared Goff, Cam Jordan. Why was it important for those guys to be back at Cal the other day?
Oh, it was very important. Just because, well, this is what's crazy. So there's a stat that I read recently from this past season. Do you know that that there are 4 of the top salary earners in the NFL were all Cal guys? There are 4 of them out of the top 45. 4 of them. Jared, Aaron, Keenan Allen, and Cam Jordan. When I got to Jared on one of the players, he goes, "He played here?" I said, "Yeah, Jared Goff played here." I said, "No way."
Number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, so I said, "Don't you know he played it? He plays for Lions." Go, "I know he plays for Lions, coach. I didn't realize he played here." I mean, that's one of the current players. So then I said, and then when I said Keenan Allen, he goes, "You mean Keenan Allen plays for the Chargers?" I said, "Yeah, that Keenan Allen." He goes, "He played here." I said, "Yeah, right there. This is jersey from the wall." He said, "Oh, I thought that was another guy." But see, that's the crazy part about it. That's the thing that we have to make sure. So when guys like that come back, and all of a sudden they see these guys and the realization that, hey, you can come to an academic institution and they will find you. I promise you they'll find you. If they don't find you and you show up on somebody else's plate, everybody else is going to start going, wow.
Coach, I've really struggled with the changes in college. I'm a football purist. And so, I was at Alabama during probation, doing 3 coaching changes, and I never left. Mm-hmm. And so personally, you played at Cal, and I don't know, and I want you to try and express to these young people what it's like, because ultimately the biggest detriment when you leave and you go to 2 to 3 different schools, and I get everybody's situation is different, but I'm connected to Alabama the rest of my life, and they're connected to me. You're connected to Cal for the rest of your life, and they're connected to you. Yep. And not only a lot of these kids are not graduating, but they're also, when you're done and you're a 20-something-year-old that's made a little money, and now you go into a job and they not paying you nowhere near as much, you feel a little down about yourself. And where are you going to go back to? The call home. They don't have that either. And so it's another sense of loneliness, lost, and it just kind of adds and piles on to what young men are complaining about and what they may have to deal with at an earlier age. And so How do you feel about that part of it, slowing that part down, and at least having them recognize that, hey, the value of saying, this is my school, that is value that nobody sees right now. But when you look up in 15 years, you want to go to a homecoming, it's hard to pick when you got to choose from 3 and not just one.
Exactly. And I think that's a great point, because to me, one thing everybody got to understand, and this is a very stark reality, and I've only been challenged on it one time by a parent, okay? Less than 1% of all draft eligible college student football players will make it to the NFL. Less than 1%. That's a transition rate of about 375 to 475 guys. That's it. Think about that, because usually around 330 to 350 get drafted, and that's including the extra rounds that are added. Okay,
the extra picks or whatever.
Yep, that are added. So because of that, because of the compensatory picks, that number becomes a little bit higher. But if you didn't have it, it might even be smaller. But think about that. Because of that's less than 1%, and it's only about, on average, about 400 guys. And I'm sitting in a room, and I've watched dads look around like, okay, wait, is mine, trying to figure out if he's one of those less than 1%ers. Well, how can you mitigate that? How can you protect yourself? Well, you got to get your education. You got to plan for the future. You got to develop those relationships. To your point, think about this. Cal produced and supported and helped finance 1,800 tech startups the last few years. Okay, it leads all the universities in producing them more than anybody else. And let's say one of your really good friends is a guy that had a tech startup. All right, and he's making money, and he's going to a second round of looking for investors. And he says, "Hey, bro, well, hey, you want to throw $100,000 in it? Next thing you throw $100,000 in it, and it's 6x within 5 years, whatever." I mean, those are the kind of relationships that these guys don't have an opportunity to develop. They don't realize it. And it's not just at Cal. We're at the gateway to Silicon Valley, and there's a lot of that industry here. But it's true for pretty much any universities. What can they produce and what can they have for you? If you develop that relationship, you have that kind of connections. Like you said, when you're done playing, there's that opportunity. I mean, Marshawn comes back, and all our guys sit there and go, wow. And Marshawn talks about business and about how he does it. I mean, he understands marketing. And it's funny because, some people talk about it's beast mode. Some people really know about him. I've heard him call him Money Beast, because he understands what it means to put it out there. That's what you've got to learn. That's what you got to understand. But those are the connections. That's the homecoming you want to be able to have.
Yes. All right, Coach, my last football question for Cal is, how do you guys compete in today's college football space? If you're behind, how do you catch up? How do you surpass? I think the ACC is a very competitive league for you guys this year. Understanding every team, it's a brand new season. I literally have no idea what any team's going to be like from year to year. I thought Clemson was going to be a heavy hitter. They were a turd. And I didn't see Miami being what they were as well. So how do you guys compete this year? I want to give me that vision.
I think we have an opportunity to compete at a higher level. I really do. And the reason I say this, again, you look at what Indiana does and you say, okay, that's the model. You look at what Texas Tech did, that's the model. They go out and they get the donor engagement the way they did. Both of them had new coaching staffs coming in. So all of a sudden they gave these guys.
And they went and got some of your players. They went and got your quarterback too.
Absolutely. Now you have that guy. Now you have those people in position. Now you can take the next step. Indiana, they felt they needed a quarterback, and probably the best available was Fernando Mendoza, and he proved it. And, he's a Cal guy. And the nice thing about, him leaving was he was a graduate, though.
Yeah.
He finished his degree. So, and so a graduate got an opportunity to move on, and congratulations, because he did a great job. The best part is he gave the shout out to Cal. That was kind of cool to see. But the truth, though, to your point, how do you look at it? Well, I look at it that if we've done what we've needed to do, we've done well in the portal, it looks like, but now we got to make sure on the field they're coached up and they play to that ability. With that, you can be up in that next echelon. And that's where we were. We were ready to take one more step. You go back and look at it, and we had 3 games on the last possession we lost. Okay? We score, we stop them, we score. We could have won at 2 of those 3. And then the right 2, you win the right 2, you're in the ACC playoffs. So the potential's there. But I think from what we've done, finishing in, I think it's 14 out of the number 14 in the portal for this year. I think that gives us the opportunity to be even more competitive. So I'm expecting great opportunity for us to take a big step.
I love that.
Coaching style. I'm used to your coaching style. You coached both of us in 2015. I had you in 2004, if I'm not mistaken.
4, 5, and 6.
4, 5, and 6. Do you think your coaching style is relevant in today's NFL with how much the game has changed?
Without a doubt. I tell you what, no matter how you look at it, the one thing you have to understand is that these players want direction.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Second thing is they want consistency. Okay. And I think if you're consistent, you treat everybody the same and you do things the right way with them. Okay. And understanding that it's got to be fair. It's got to be fair. Everybody has a value and it's all based off the value, but but they want that. And I mean, to the point where, I did a thing with Cam where he didn't have a tie.
I was there for this.
And he doesn't have the tie on. So I treated him just like I did everybody else, and I couldn't start him. Okay. Greg Hardy didn't have a tie. Okay. I didn't start him. I mean, that's the rule.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And it's one of those things that, and when the news broke that it was over a tie, I had people who didn't believe me it was over a tie, first of all. They thought he was out drinking or something like that. Well, Cam didn't drink.
No, he wasn't like that.
I don't know if he does now, but back then he did. And all I did, and the best part was he took it too. He got it in front. He didn't, he wanted to play, but at least he took it, and he took it the right way. Needless to say, I told him, all right, you won't play the first series. Well, then stinking DA throws an interception. And, on the very first play, throws the interception. Cam runs over and he goes, I'm in next series, just like you said. My gosh.
Coach, how do you deal with the balance of doing your job, but then you just were interviewed for the Cardinals job this past cycle as well? Well,
the biggest thing on that more than anything else was they were doing their due diligence. I had a relationship with Mr. Bidwell, from my league, some of the committees I was on in the league. So, knowing that there was an opportunity to come in and interview, I went and took it. We kept it quiet for as long as we could, mostly because we had the portal was open. And so, and it didn't get out. I mean, it didn't get out for a long time that I had interviewed. And so really the focus was always about keeping everything going. I did it on, the 15th, which was the day before the closing of the portal. And so really nothing, and that was the idea behind it.
All right, Coach. This is going to be really hard.
Okay.
This is probably the toughest question I have to ask you. All right. But just think about this. Describe Peanut Tillman in one word.
Wow. I mean, because you look at him, first of all, he comes across as he's unassuming until he opens his mouth.
Yeah.
And then you realize, wow, okay, this guy's got he's got something to him.
And he can't control himself.
No, he can't. Oh gosh. I'm gonna have to break out the thesaurus, man, and find the right word.
No lies told.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Honest.
Okay.
That's who he is. Okay.
He is that.
He's honest. What you see in the way he acts, honestly. Okay. The way he carries himself in an honest fashion. He's going to give you the truth. He's going to be honest with you. So I think honest would be a really good word.
I'll take that.
I would agree with that. He is honest. Yeah. I mean, we don't always need him to be honest in that moment.
Yeah.
You're
right about that. Sometimes too much honesty.
He was like, maybe we could have waited like 5 minutes to maybe get out of the room before you said that.
Hey,
he can't help that.
Yeah.
So yes, but okay.
I'll tell you what. Thank you. I mean, you gave me a good way to think of this young man from now on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a great word for you, Charles.
All right. I'll do the same thing. But with Mr. Harper right here, one word to describe him. As a player.
As a player.
Oh, I didn't use a player for you.
I'm going to switch it up.
Okay.
Determined. He played with a determined fashion about it. He wanted to win. He wanted to be successful. So everything he did it with the fashion that I'm determined to be best. Even later in his career, some guys accept that, hey, you know what, I'm not. He still didn't. He still wanted to be that guy, which I thought was great because the young guys that would always ask me, why does he always do things like that? I said, dude, that's him. He's a professional. It's the way he does it. He always wants to be the best. When guys ask you about veterans, that was the thing I really appreciated too, was your presence. You always showed that you were working hard, that you wanted to win. I know you wanted to win that Super Bowl. That was the things that I really appreciated. You have guys like that. That's why I said, if I could have had both you guys in Carolina with me when you guys are
a little younger.
Because the other thing too, you guys had a way with Cam.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the other thing, and I will say is when you guys left and Josh Norman left, okay, there was that little competitive edge that you guys could always compete with them. I know the other guys did as well, but when you have the right group of guys, and then when we started having issues with the injuries, you guys are the guys who grab these new guys and say, this is how we do things.
Yep.
This is how we do it. And that was important. So yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I am very goal oriented, so I appreciate that. And so I'm very determined on focused on what I want to accomplish. Look, Coach, I've told you this before, like, it was one of the best compliments you ever gave me. Was that in 2014 you came up to me because you're the only coach that's ever written handwritten letters to players as well that I know of. And so the personal style in which you go about your business is amazing. We lost, 8 straight games that year. I was like the maddest person in the world. And you just were like, dude, you just got to trust it. Like, we got to keep it going. And you told me that, Roman, you should have been a guy that you should have been a one-team guy.
Yeah.
They should have never let you go. I'm happy.
No, and I agree. I really do. I still believe that.
Yeah,
really
you're like, they should have never let you go. I'm so happy you're here.
Yeah.
But I'm glad Chicago let you go to come to Carolina.
It was like, to me, I'm like, that's the ultimate compliment. And I really took that. And I was just like, man, that's amazing,
But 2014, I think, was one of those years that the way everybody rallied around each other and stay close.
It was crazy to me.
Well, it was basically the month of October.
Yeah.
We were 0, 3, and 1.
Yeah.
Okay. And that 1 was I don't know if you remember it. No, we were 0, 3, 1, 1. So yeah, so we lost 4 out of the 5 games in October. And what was crazy was the tie was to Cincinnati. And I don't remember, I got in front of everybody and said, that's going to be the difference. And it was. The half game is what got us into the playoffs. We were 7, 8, and 1. Everybody else was 7 and 9, 7 and 9. And we beat our last 4 games. We beat New Orleans. We beat Tampa. We beat Cleveland. And then we went and we beat Atlanta big time in Atlanta to win the division. And that's what it was. When it was take on that game. And that's all we could ask was just give us a chance. Oh, yeah, you guys are something else, man. Then once you guys realized it, wait a minute.
I hadn't lost that many games in a row since I've been to NFL or college. And so to have a coach that was just steady, like Steady Eddie, where I was with Sean Payton, who's a very hot.
Oh, yeah.
He was like, I'll cut somebody, And Ron was like, no, I love this team.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the most, like, he's the captain of the ship and like, he won't let it rock. And I'm like, I'm waiting for it to rock so somebody falls off. And he's like, no, this is who we are. And it was amazing to watch. And I had so much growth under your tutelage and the way that you ran the team. And it was just like, man, it's more than one way to skin a cat, for sure.
Do you remember when the boat rocked and we were on the bus and he made everybody get off the bus?
No.
In Carolina, you don't remember that?
No, I think I had I gotten on the bus yet?
No, we were getting ready to leave. So I don't think you liked the energy the team had. Mm-hmm. We were getting on the bus and we were finna travel. I forget who we were playing. We're still undefeated.
Yeah.
But everyone gets on the bus. We're getting ready to leave B of A. We get off. We go in the team room. You let us have it. Hey, damn it. I don't like the look, this energy. We're not finna start this trip off this way. We're here to play a football game. You said a couple of things. And it was just like, oh, okay. Maybe we start feeling ourselves, but you let us know like right away.
Right. I do remember.
You let us know right away.
I remember the game too. Because
I don't know the game.
No, you know what it was? There was a group of guys that were getting on the bus late. And so I waited till everybody got on the bus and I told them all to get out. Get off the bus. Let's go inside right now. And I said, first of all, guys, y'all better take this serious. The biggest thing I do not like is our attitude right now, thinking we're just going to show up.
Yeah.
But see, the crazy thing is I always used to talk about attitude, right? And what I used to say when I played, but the attitude, preparation, effort. But what I tell the guys is I always used to tell everybody the story about the Chicago Bears. When I played for the 85 team, we used to get off the bus and we were already up by 7 because of our attitude. Okay. And I used this line. I said this. I said, The reason I got you off that bus is, guys, your attitude is about when you get off the bus, you're ready to play. It's not about getting on the bus. When you get on the bus, you got to be focused and be ready. Getting off the bus, you can get off it with confidence. I'm not going to have you do this. So, yeah, you're right. I did. I remember that. I can't say what I said.
Yeah, it's okay. Like, hey, look, man.
Well, the message was well received because we went out there and we beat the shit out of whoever we played.
I'm trying to remember it.
That season was just so fun. Just all the memories. And I look back and I give you so much credit because you allowed us to be who we were. And ultimately, I think you got a lot of that because of your 85 Bears experience. You're like, because I think we did one thing. It was only like 3 or 4 of us who actually won a Super Bowl, who've been a part of a Super Bowl team. I happened to be one. Ed Dixon was one, and then you were one.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lot of us. And I heard you talking about the team, and you were, kind of comparing to your 85 team how much personality that this team had, and how much your 85 team personality was like what they were. It was the strength of the team. Yeah, it was. You could see it and you could feel it. Because you guys started doing the dabs on the sideline. You guys started doing the pictures. You were like, keep it doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. But see, it was really about what I said to you guys was, hey, if you can keep your personality, be true to who you are and live within the values, hey, you can play. You can play for us. And the big thing that I really appreciated, I don't know if you guys remember, was handing the balls to the kids. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Touchdowns.
Yeah. I mean, there's like over 50 of them were given out. And that was probably one of the really cool things that happened was the way you guys reached out to the community because, that's my biggest disappointment is not winning, not just for you guys, but for the community because that community rallied behind us. They really did. And it was a great ride. It was something else.
I'm just glad you brought me in.
I'm glad too. I learned a lot from Peanut that year, just as far as technique, being the constant technician that he is.
Yep.
Even though he has zero swag with an arm brace and socks just legally right where they're supposed to be at, it's fine. I mean, but I really appreciated the veteran presence, the fact that I got days off in training camp for the first time, treated like a true pro. And I live in Charlotte because of it. And so it's forever changed my life, and not only my life, but my kids' life. We're being raised in Charlotte as well. So it's been fantastic, and I'm just forever grateful for what you, McDermott, and Wilkes and everybody, how you guys took care of me.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming on the pod. This was awesome. Always giving us great knowledge.
This is great. It's always great to see you guys.
For all our viewers and listeners out there, wherever you pick up your podcast, whether it's iHeartRadio or the Apple Podcast, make sure you like, subscribe, follow, leave a couple comments. We always like to have our lovely producer go over them and talk about them. So tell a friend to do what, Peanut?
Tell a friend.
There we go, man. Check us out, man. And you can also see us on the NFL's YouTube channel.
I like that. I'm Peanut. That's Roman. This is Riverboat Ron, and this is the NFL Players Second Acts podcast. We are out.